Hey everyone, it's Krista here with Blooms and Brushstrokes, and today we are going to do a tutorial on very beginner, loosely painted watercolor and ink leaves. So if you watched my last tutorial, my cat is here playing with the water. If you watched my last tutorial, I did a couple flowers. I thought, you know what? I've just been doing these tutorials and they're pretty in depth. To me, I feel like, oh, they're fairly beginner, but then I'm like, maybe they're not. So I really wanted to get on and do a few very beginner kind of loose watercolor tutorials so that we can have a little fun with that and so that the other tutorials don't seem so intimidating. Nobody. So without further ado, let's get right to it and get cracking and do a couple leaf tutorials for you guys. So let's get going. All right, we got us all situated here. So I'm just using my Canson book because we don't need anything too spectacular. This is the book that I'm using. I'm just going to use a page in here. I'm not even going to take it out because we're going to keep it pretty simple here. And so I'm going to use the Mangayo paints again. And the only reason I'm doing that, I was going to use the Yarka ones, but I don't have it swatched out like the Mangayo ones. So it makes it difficult for me to tell you guys what colors I'm using. So I'm just going to use this, and then this weekend I'm going to re-swatch that out. If I can't find the swatch at the farm, I'm going to re-swatch out the Yarka paints and go from there. So let's just start off with a couple very basic leaf drawings. And so I'm going to start with, you know, something like that. It doesn't really matter the shape you guys go with. We can do that one. We can do a longer one. And maybe we'll draw in, well, the one from the rose was kind of an interesting, you know, it kind of has the jagged edges. And kind of attaches here, and then there's a couple little small ones. So again, I'm just doing, actually, you know what, I'm going to take that one away. If we have space after, just because I want to do these really loosely, so I don't want to have one too much in the way. I got rid of that long one too, just because I just want to do, I'm going to go upwards with it, as opposed to them both coming down. So corrected that for you guys there. We're just going to start with these two. If we have time after, we'll practice with another one. So hopefully you guys can see those. I just use my 2H pencil, and for erasing, it's just one of those, oh, I forget what these are called. The eraser where you can just like, if you go too dark with your lines, you can just go pick it up. They are super handy. So just like I did in the last tutorial, we're going to go very, very loose. And so that's the name of the game here, you guys. Whoopsie daisy. Hang tight. Just going to grab my little dabbing paper. Okay. So we're going to go very loose with these. And we're going to go with, we're going to start with dropping down lots of water, just the same as we did our flowers. We're going to use the number 1 25mm Zen flat brush. Going to get it wet, and we're just going to go and slap some water down. It's hard to kind of see unless you guys can see it being shiny, but you just kind of splatter it down wherever. So I'm going to put that one to the side. We've got enough water on there now, and I'm going to grab my number 12. Oh yeah, my number 12 Royal Langnickel Sovereign Round, and we're going to load that up with quite a bit of water, and we're going to go in with some green. And today I'm going to start with the gray green. I've been loving that. That is this one right here. So it's beautiful. That's what we're going with to start with. And we're going to get lots of water, lots of pigment on there. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and just spray your watercolors down very first if you want to. But my water bottle is in my room where I have plants growing, so I'm not going to do that right now. So I've got lots of water and lots of pigment, but we don't want to go too heavy because this is just our first dab down with it. So we're just going to go and plop some color on there into where that water already is. So just let it do its thing naturally. Again, we're going to go in with this one. Just kind of where the water splattered to. Okay, get out of there. The cat, can you guys see him? Oh, you can see him a little bit. Like he's into the paint. Like he wants to lick it. Okay, nobody. No, we're not doing this right now. Come on. No. No. Okay, this is ridiculous. Sorry, you guys. I gotta try to deal with my cat. Could you go find something to do? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have 1 drop of color down already, and that's cool. Like we can add more, we can add less. I'm going to drag some water and some paint up, and we're just gonna kind of go give it a little tail going up. So I'm gonna drop in a little bit more paint, and it can be a little bit more intense. And you can see where it's already wet. Okay, like I just want to go put a little bit more color in there and just play around with that. It doesn't even have to be perfectly in your leaf shape. Okay. See this over here? It's like kind of come out a bit. Maybe it's a bit extreme coming out that way, but you know what? That's how the water went. That's how it's going to be. So these look, you know, this got color coming over here. I'm just going to go in a little bit dark. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So it's pretty abstract looking right now. We've got that gray green down, and now say we want to go in with something, you know, another color of green. So I'm just going to look and, I love the green yellow. I also love the olive green, but I think the olive green and the gray green are quite similar. So let's go in with, the green yellow, the number 840. Oopsie daisy. So we're going to go load up lots of water in there, lots of pigment. And I'm not going to put it everywhere. I just want to put a few dots of that in there just to give it some pop and pizzazz. So go in there wherever you like and just drop some of that down. Perfect. I love how that's looking. Okay, so love that. Love how that all looks. I think now we can go in with some darker green. And I am going to go in with this deep green here, and that's number 830. And we're just going to tap that out. It's a pretty emerald looking green. I don't want a lot of it either. Like I just kind of want to go, oh, there's cat hair. Lovely. You know, I just want to put some little punches of that in there. Kind of wherever. These are loose. Remember, like this is what we're doing. We're just doing loose, and it's all good. So sometimes when I paint leaves, I really like to have that kind of trailing look coming down. So I'm going to go in with my number 8 because it has a really nice fine tip. My number 8 Aqua Elite Princeton brush. And I'm going to drag down some of that really dark green. Actually, I could go even a little bit thicker with that. And just kind of give it that little bit of a trailing tail. And then, you know what, I'm like, okay, I like that, but I think I want to add a little bit of that gray-green in there too, just to have some of it coming down. Now we're starting to pool up with a lot of water, so I am going to go and lift out I kind of like how that's bleeding into each other, but I am going to go lift out some of that color just because it's going to get messy. And I think I have so much that I can take a piece of my paper towel and I can just lift it out. Oh yeah, there was a ton of water there. Which is all good, and that's the beauty of watercolor paint when it does that. It's pretty awesome, so we'll just lift that out so it doesn't get too carried away. Like, look at how this looks here. This is spectacular. How I just went in there and it was like wet on dry, like paint on the dry, and then you have that like fine kind of detail in there. Like that stuff I also love. I think that's really pretty, and I just love how the green and the brown are blending together. So we'll kind of go up here and do the same with this, but let's just go with the gray green. And we just squiggle it up there. And I'm going to just take a little bit of that. Okay. The cat. I just got home. Oh no. I just got home, so he's into it. He's like, you're not paying attention to me. I am going to get in your space. Okay, so up in here, we're going to add a bit of the, let's add a bit of the green yellow to kind of blend into that. Just up here. Okay, buddy. Oh, don't do that. Okay, I love how these are looking. I'm going to tip this a little bit just because it's getting pretty crazy on the one side, and this is going to make it go interesting. I'm just going to kind of hold that there. Hold it up a bit so it doesn't pool on the one side. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm loving all that. So now that we've done that, you guys, we're just going to let that, I might go in and, okay. We are back in action here, you guys. We have our leaves. They're pretty much dry, so we're going to get in there with our gold. Oh, I didn't check that out. Anyways, we're going to start with our gold ink. As I said before, I'm just going to just adjust this a little bit here. I think that's better. So it's our Windsor Newton gold ink. Pardon me. The Windsor Newton gold ink. I've been looking into these paints online, metallic paints, watercolor paints, there's like beam paints. I would like to know if anybody's tried them. They're Canadian made, so that's cool for us Canadians. They are not super cheap, but if they're good, they might be worth it. So I'd love to try that. Okay, so then we're going to use our #1 script pen. Why do I say pen always? Paintbrush. It's the Nocturna Royal and Langnickel, and that's just that really small one. So I'm just going to get that wet and then dip it into my gold ink. So I'm going to try with this one because on the flowers I was in a rush and my lines got really thick, and I don't love that when that happens. So I'm just going to try to go a little bit slower, and we're going to go around the outside edges of the leaf, and then we're going to go down the center as well. So we're just going to go really lightly, and we're going to drag it down this little tail as well. So the more you press down, the thicker your line is going to get. The lighter you go, obviously, the thinner your line is going to get. I would like to find an even thinner brush. I never really looked for one, but I'm thinking I'd like to find a thinner one. So we're going to do a little squiggle down the middle. And we're going to go ahead and do that on the other one, doing a similar kind of technique. My little tail here is still pretty wet, so I'm just going to be careful of that. Okay, I also had an interesting comment, you guys, and so somebody commented that they didn't love my upspeak in the video. And I had no idea what that was. I'm not even kidding you guys. I had to Google up what is, oh, careful buddy. I had to Google what is upspeak. I didn't even know what it was. So then apparently it's just like how I talk and how, yeah, like how my expression is, and anyways. And so I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow, like this is how I talk, and somebody's commenting that they don't like it. Like, I'm sorry. And so my suggestion was to just put on the closed captions. So now I'm so hyper conscious of how I speak. I'm like, oh, I don't want that to be a thing. So anyways, again, I did apologize. I'm like, so sorry that you don't like the way that I speak. And, you know, and yeah, that was kind of sad to me that, honestly, this is how I talk. I talk as a profession. Like, I'm a hairstylist and I talk all day, every day. And my whole spiel in like life is that I invite people to have conversation with me and make it, my chats are always very open ended when I talk, and that's just how I am. So anyways, I hope that's not the case for many of you. I hope that I hope it's not, because I think I'm gonna have a hard time changing that up, but I am totally being mindful of that. I'm like, okay, be careful. You don't want to be irritating too many people. But anyways, she did say she enjoys my tutorials, and that to keep on going. So I just my suggestion was maybe just put the captions on. So anyways, no sweat. It's no sweat, but I'm trying, you guys. Anyhow, so I've done my gold ink, and that's all I'm going to do. This is still a little too wet on the end for me to go in and to do, to go in on that end. It's just a little bit wet. So that's okay. We're going to now go in with our number 3. Oh, that's just a little bit damp still. If you go in very lightly with the ink, it doesn't take too long. If you can see here, it was still a little wet, and you can see that ink, how it like bloomed in this area, which it does look cool. But I've had it where it happens and it blooms too much, and it really distorts the look of what's going on. So you don't want it to be too wet when you put down the gold ink. Otherwise it can turn a bit messy, and I learned that the hard way. So I think you guys can see right there. But otherwise, it's just nice. And I didn't put any down here yet, so I'll wait till that's totally dry to kind of drag it out. Okay, so as you guys know, my style is to go in very kind of loosely, very kind of squiggly, and so I'm just going to do that, but not too wild. And I love to drag down the tail. Like, I love that. Of course, you don't need to do that. So I've done down the middle, and then let's do our little veins in there and give it that look. We can put the little thing on there too. So that's pretty much it, you guys, for doing the leaf. And then the same thing with this one, you know, just we're a little wet down there, but do the same. And let's say this leaf, we'll say, is not, maybe the lines go parallel as opposed to perpendicular. So we're going to do some line work in this one, where we would kind of go, oh, poo-pooey. Went over top the gold and it's still a bit damp. So we can go in and add in some line work. And we don't want that to be quite as squiggly, but a little bit to kind of flow as our center line. Just because, for me, if I do too much squiggly line action, then I lose all sight of what's going on. So I do some that are just a little less. And then, of course, like up here, we can do some coming in. And just, yeah, just kind of have that little bit of line work in there, you guys. And that just helps to give that look of the leaf a little bit more. And then that's kind of it. Sometimes what I'll do, if it's a bigger leaf, I just like, ooh, I don't love how that looks. So I'm just adding a little bit of squiggle to some of those lines, but not a lot. And so all good. And I mean, you can do the lines that come from the center vein. You can do that as well. But so sometimes if I'm doing a bigger
leaf, like we'll say this one, and the line just isn't, it's kind of lost a little bit, I'll go back in and do a second line, but I don't want it to go too far from the original line that I put down, just because then it can start to look really messy. But you can go in and drop down a second line kind of over your first one, and it just gives a little bit more intensity to that line and just a little bit more depth, so you can see it a little bit better. And sometimes you have to do that when you're working with a bigger subject. So if my leaf is bigger, I would maybe do that. But if I'm going to do it, I try to stick to, if I'm going to do it in a one thing, I'm going to do it in another, like do it in all of it. So if I'm going to do 2 lines in my flower, I'm going to do 2 lines in my leaves as well. So you have to be pretty mindful of when you're doing that, because again, it makes it darker, makes it more intense, and makes, you know, it's just a little bit more dramatic looking. So you just have to be, if you're committing, you're committing, I think. Because if you do one thing with one line, then this is okay. We can do like double the line on the outside and just kind of leave the lines on the inside a single. Maybe drop a second line on some of those middle veins that are going down just to give that intensity. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for that leaf. So you guys, that is a couple quick leaves. I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. And yeah, that's just, honestly, that's a very quick way to do a couple beautiful leaves. And I'm going to put a little bit of this gold down, going down on the end, because I just love it. You can also add more detail with your gold as well. Like if you wanted to add a little bit more, you know, going up in here, you can. Like you can be as creative as you want to be, but we're talking pretty basic here, just to give us a starting point as far as leaves go, and basic shapes. There's lots of different shapes of leaves, so you can play around with it whatever you want. And the colors, like they can be any color, but like look how good those look. I think they look pretty great, you guys. What do you guys think?
All right, you guys, so that is going to wrap it up for our leaf tutorial. Our basic leaves with watercolor and ink. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, like the video. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment in the comments section, feedback, questions, anything like that. Please drop me those in the comments section. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on a thing. And I think over the next little bit, I'm going to do a few more kind of basic flowers and more basic leaves as well, just so that we can all have a little bit of fun just experimenting for the next few tutorials, just because I think it's a good way to get people really into using watercolor. So I think I'm going to stick with a few of those for the next little bit. And I did just get a little Amazon order in, so I'm going to do a quick little video of that as well. So that's going to wrap it up for me, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to checking in with you guys next time.